is the 40-inch telescope. It's on a Newtonian mount, or it's a Dobsonian mount, but it's a Newtonian telescope. So it's got a 40-inch mirror. And then in the smaller box here, we have the 9-inch folded refractor. Generally, these telescopes are open on Cac weekends and for special events. So for instance, this coming Saturday, we're hosting some space grant students out at Cac. And so we'll have both the 40-inch and the 9-inch going, plus another telescope. And the warm room is opened all, most of the time when there's members on the site in case they want to go in and get, heat up some food or get something out of the refrigerator or just go warm up. The other large observatory we have is over on the right side, and this is the Wally Rogers Observatory. It's got a 14-inch Celestron inside, and it's on a roll-off roof observatory. Members can get checked out to use this observatory, so you can reserve it through the Cac reservation process, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. You can get checked out certainly on the 40 and the 9 as well, but those aren't usually available for personal use. We save those for special events and when we have groups coming out. But we do need operators trained on that. So if you're interested in getting trained with on either of those or the Wally Rogers, we can certainly get you going, and Joe will get you on the list for that. The other large pad we've got is the 8-meter circular amphitheater pad. So that's where we'll put, a lot of times we'll put the larger telescopes there. We currently have a 18-inch Obsession in this roll-off roof observatory, or the container. And so you can get checked out on using that as well. And eventually that'll go over on the pads over here, which I'll talk to in just a minute. Let's see. So for general member use, we have these 10, we call them public pads, but they're available for members to reserve on a first come, first served basis. They're 10 by 10 pads. They all have electricity. And as many of you who have been out to Cac know, they work out really slick. Most Cac weekends we have, most of them are filled, not all of them, but most of them are filled. And so that's a great opportunity to come out and use your own equipment at Cac. And then up here in the top, we have 10 member lease pads. So these are available for members to lease. And right now, all 10 of them are leased, and we do have a waiting list going on. So if you want to get on that list, just either let Conrad or myself know, and we'll hook you up. John Kalis is maintaining the list, and we'll at some point in time we may put in some. We've got some cleared area up here, but we may put in some more pads. Although we have all the member pads leased, they're not always getting the use like what we would like. So before we build more, we want to make sure that we're optimizing the use of the ones we've got. And so we'll probably be in touch with some of the lessees just to see if they're going to keep them. They would really like for them to be used. Otherwise, we'd like to get them turned over to somebody else on the waiting list. So those pads are available. And then we've also got a Ramada with some picnic tables down here in the left. And then this small building right here is the restroom facility. So there's 2 restrooms in there, a utility room on this side, and on the back side is the shower facility. So that's open for people to use. We've got containers. These 2 containers right here are available for members to store equipment in there if they want to, for a very nominal fee, just to try to recoup some of the maintenance costs for them. And then this container right here, we keep the club, the grills and some of the club supplies and stuff like that. And then this one will have some of the extra club scopes in it as well. The newest additions to the site are the sleeping rooms and the learning center, which is over here in the upper left. The outside shells are all done. We're a little bit at an impasse on the inside because the contractor that's been working on them, his health has deteriorated to the point that he's probably not going to be able to continue. So we may have to find a different contractor to build out the inside. So it may take a slight delay as we get into the queue for for somebody there, but at least we've got the shelves up, and that'll be a good start. In fact, we could, if people wanted to bring sleeping bags or air mattresses or something like that, we could certainly open them up for that at some point in time if we need to. So in the lower building will have 7 sleeping rooms. So all the rooms in there will be sleeping plus 2 restrooms. The upper one is going to be a combination of 3 sleeping rooms in the lower half, and then the upper half is going to be a learning center. So we've got that set up for classroom space. So hopefully, in the near future, once that's complete, we can start hosting youth groups out there. We can get some schools to come out. We can do our, club business in there if we need to, and things like that. So it'll be set up with tables and chairs and screens and computers and that kind of stuff to actually be a classroom. And then this pad right here, you see, just to the right adjacent to those 2 new buildings is called the Stinger pad. And we've got space there for 4 telescopes. You can kind of see in here, you can see the piers for 3 of them right there. So this one right here is probably going to have the Celestron 9 1/4 on it. So the telescope will be on the pier, and there'll be a shed similar to the 9-inch shed here, maybe a little bit smaller, that'll enclose the telescope. And then when it's being used, it just gets rolled back on some rails back to this extension back here. So these 3 are all going to work the same. So this will have the 9 1/4-inch Celestron. The middle one here will have an 11-inch Celestron. This one, the end one here, will have a 12-inch Meade. And then at the very end, we're going to take the 18-inch Obsession that's in the container, and it'll get mounted over here on the end, and it'll have an extension as well on the back eventually, and the telescope and the housing will be back there. And then instead of the housing coming off the telescope, you'll just pull the telescope out from the shed and roll it out to the center here and be able to use it. So all 4 of these telescopes will be available for members to get checked out on. Like I said, the 18-inch is already available over here. And then all 3 of the Schmidt Cassegrains will be available as well. Once we get them put over here. So, and one of our main purposes for doing this is to make these available for some of the groups that we bring out to CAC. I would really like to, start getting some youth groups like the Scouts and Boys and Girls Clubs and some of those kinds of groups out to CAC. We can, give them a little presentation in the Learning Center, and then bring them out here and actually let them use the telescopes, maybe attach cameras to some of the telescopes so that they could take pictures, especially for school groups. They want to take pictures of what they're observing, then they can take that back to school with them and actually give a report on what they looked at. So Ed Foley and Mike McDowell are working on the first shed right here, the first container for the 9 1/4. So that'll be kind of the test one. So hopefully within a few weeks we'll see that coming out here, and once they validate the design, then they will then they'll go ahead and build the other 3. Any questions so far?
Jim, can you remind us where is that road going to go that's going to bring people into the Learning Center and the sleeping rooms? Isn't there a road on the left of that building?
Yeah. So just as you come in the gate, and I think may have another picture that shows the gate a little bit better. As soon as you come in the gate, it's basically where this path is right here is going to be the road that will come around to the Learning Center, and then there'll be parking spaces probably at both ends, and right in here. This will have a sidewalk coming over here and connecting to the telescope pads, and then there'll be another sidewalk coming from here that'll connect over here to this sidewalk right here. So yeah, that'll be right in there. This area right down here at the bottom is our leach field, but it's also going to double as the tent area. It'll be a great flat area for people to be able to pitch tents. So we've got it cleared pretty well right now, and we've had a few people putting tents out there, so that'll be good. And then let me just go down to the next. And then this just shows a little different view, but it on the right here shows you the RV area that we currently have 4 RV spots for. Our intent, hopefully, is to be able to expand that with 2 more powered spots and 1 for dry camping, so to have a total of 7. The 4 get filled up pretty quickly, and so during Cac Weekend, so it would be good to be able to have that be available. Wade was asking what the lease fees are for the member pads. Good question. Let me just go back a slide here to show you that. So yeah, for the pads, there's kind of 2 initial costs for the pads. To buy into the lease, if it's got a pier on it, I believe the current fee is around $2,600 for the initial price to get into the lease. And if it doesn't have a pier, I believe it's like $2,250 or something like that. Conrad or Joe, does that sound about right to you?
Yes, that's close.
Yep,
Okay.
that sounds right.
And then there's an annual $120 maintenance fee. So once you buy into it and you've got that, then there's the annual fee that comes with it. When you give up the lease, then depending upon how long you've had it, you'll probably get a portion of that $2,350 or the $2,600 back. Just depends on how long you had it. So you'll get that'll get released back, and then the next person will buy into the new lease and go from there. No charge at all for the public member pads. All right, let's see.
I didn't know if you wanted to bring up, Jim, that actually we have enough land cleared to put at least 30 member pads out there if there's a demand for it.
Right, yeah, so this area up in here, we can put a lot more pads in there. So yeah, eventually we probably will, but we need to get these being utilized. It's fine that they're leased, but we really want to have people out there using them. So at some point in time, we'll probably extend that. But so it is important, if you're interested in doing the lease, by all means, it's probably good to get on the waiting list. So as they open up, you'll get them a little bit quicker. And then this area up in the upper right is where we're hoping to do up to 17 roll-off observatories and 3 large daub pads. The daub pads will have it's about a 30 by 30 or 25 by 25 foot pad. And then basically one of these containers, all for your own use for your telescope. And so you'll be able to keep your telescope in there and just roll it out on the pad when you're ready to use it. Right now, I think they've got something like 12 to 15 people that are more or less interested in the roll-off roof observatories, and I think 2 people that want to do the large pads. So if this is of interest to you at all, the roll-off roof observatories, the final price hasn't been set, but it's going to be, it'll be pretty expensive because we're building it all from scratch. So it'll probably be in the $25,000 to $30,000 range, but I don't know for sure. And then there'll be an annual fee that'll go with it. But if you are going to be able to use it for an extended period of time, 15, 20 years, then it would probably be worthwhile. So certainly, if you're interested in any of those up there, then let us know, and we'll get you on the list for that.
So Jim, maybe just another quick question. So for some reason, I had it in my head that the observatories and the roll-off pads were kind of to the right of the RV spot and maybe slightly up. You've kind of drawn the text sort of directly, above the RVs, but is that right?
Yeah, it's pretty much going to fill in this open space right in here. There's not much space. The edge of the 16 acres is not too far over here. So
okay.
The entrance to it, if we expand the 2 more spots over here, the entrance will be probably just off the map here. So, and I'll show you a line diagram that'll kind of lays these out a little bit better here in just a minute. Yeah, so those are there. And then, like I said, we're hoping to be able to expand, do some more RV spots. And then, we do have, when we get filled up, we do open up other spots for people with smaller rigs that just want to dry camp or something like that to be able to just, bring their setup down without having to go into a spot. This just pretty much talks in words what I went over. The site is 16 acres. And I'll show you the larger picture here in just a minute. It's about 100 miles southeast of Tucson and about 15 miles from the Chiricahua National Monument. If you were to Google Chiricahua Astronomy Complex on Google Maps, it would come up. You see it. It's kind of an old picture. It doesn't even, I think the RMO, the Reynolds-Mitchell Observatory, was just being in the construction phase when that picture was taken. So it's been a while since the satellite's been over, but it'll give you an idea of where it's at. The 40-inch telescope and the 9-inch and the 14 are the three big ones right now. 10 public pads, 10 member pads, and then all the other stuff there that we already talked about. So here's the line diagram that'll kind of lay out the entire site. So back in 2008, we had 4 of our members go together and actually purchase a 40-acre parcel, and that's this big square. And then out of their very generous donation, they donated the central 16 acres to the club. And they each kept 6 acres around the adjacent area, kind of as a buffer to Cac. Right now, John Kalis is the only one that has built anything on their property. The other ones have not. But so it is good that there's a little buffer. So here's the entrance road coming in off of East Perseus Way. And then as soon as shortly after you come in, this is the road that'll bring you around, this way to the Learning Center over here. This again shows the pads. And you're probably right, Doug, there probably are a little bit further south than what I had depicted on there. This kind of shows it offset a little bit. The entranceway comes in here and then it goes into this loop. So it probably is actually a little bit further south than what I had. So there will still be some open space in here. And I think these Dob pads, or at least 2 of them, may have moved over to this end too. This may be a slightly outdated picture. But we will try to put in probably 4 more spots or 2 more park RV spots here, and then a space where there won't be any electricity. And the reason why we wouldn't have electricity on that last one is we have 60 amps available on this meter. And so that'll give us 2 more 30 amp spots without having to put in another meter. And the electric company out here, before we even turn on any kind of electricity, we get hit with a $37.50 monthly charge, $25 per meter, and a minimum of a $10.50 monthly fee for a demand charge. So the more meters you have, the more monthly cost we're going to have there. So we're doing our best to try to keep the number of meters down. And then once you start plugging stuff in and turning stuff on, and the electricity spikes, then the demand charge jumps up, and so they're pretty good about getting money out of you.
So the reason why I asked that question, Jim, was because, clearly it seems at the moment RV spots are a premium, and I was wondering whether or not, it seemed to me like you could easily have another half loop or something just, above the existing RV set, right? You've got that, exactly, that whole area is just available. So all right, anyway.
So we could expand this direction a little bit if we wanted to, right in here. Here's the cleared area that Conrad was talking about earlier that we can put in some more spots. Other than that, I think I've covered everything else. There is on the diagram here on the east or west side, there's a building there that's planned for a caretaker cottage. If we decide at some point in time we'll need to do that. We're hoping that, at least in the near future, we have enough members there routinely that we have the site covered most of the time, because we're getting a fair amount of dollar value out here. And so the more we have, the more it would be better to have almost a full-time presence out there. So hopefully once we get the sleeping rooms done and expand the RV spots a little bit, that we'll have members out there most of the month. I mean, it's always tough around full moon. Nobody really wants to go out to a dark site when the moon's blaring down on you.
Excuse me, Jim, could you describe the internet service out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually do have fiber optic to the site, and the 17 member observatories will have dedicated fiber optic for their internet, so they'll have good internet. The site right now, the fiber comes into the Reynolds-Mitchell Observatory. So if we go back to this one, so the fiber comes into the RMO warm room here, and then it's just available for Wi-Fi, and it's pretty good out to probably about half the public pads. It gets a little bit weak out here. Eventually, what I want to do is I want to be able to get a repeater or somehow extend it out to the Wally Rogers, and then put another router in here that would then transmit out to the RV sites and to the southern end of the site. It's what we're paying for is a 50 download, 10 megabits per second upload. So it's not super fast. Eventually, we're probably going to need to up that a little bit, but we'll have to see what the price packages come in for that. And then we'll also have a dedicated router in each of these buildings that'll have Wi-Fi within each building, and that'll help also cover some of this area up here. All right, any other questions?
Hey, Jim, this is Kevin. Is there any thought to expanding the restroom capability? Because I can certainly I've pictured times with the current level of development when those are pretty well fully utilized. And if you get the expansion with more member pads, more roll-off observatories and things, it seems like that small building is not going to be enough.
Yeah, now each of these two buildings has 2 restrooms in it.
Right.
And a shower in one of them. So we will have a total of 6 restrooms available. But yeah, we have not thought about doing more than that. I don't know that our leach field and our septic system could cover too much more.
Yeah.
That might be the limiting factor. And they do have someplace on the site, in the master plan, there's a plan for a secondary leach field, but obviously that's very costly to put in and that kind of stuff. So I have a feeling by the time we get these buildings done with restrooms in there, that might be the extent. But yeah, it's certainly something to keep in mind that at some point we may want to have maybe enlarge this building or something like that and make it so we can put in a couple more restrooms.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So here's just another view with the Wally Rogers roof rolled back, looking towards the northwest, towards Tucson of the pads. And you can see this container's open here. So we've got these 2 containers, this one, and then on the back side now we have a 4th container. And each one of these has a pedestal for with two outlets. And there's also power over here at this one for any power that needs to get out to the pad. Here's what it looks like looking towards the southwest with members on the pads.
Hey, Jim, this is Kevin again. That stimulates another question in my mind. And you made the comment earlier that in recent months, the member pads have been pretty fully utilized, and that's been my experience for the couple times I've been down there, say the past year. And have you thought, and certainly my sense from the times I've been there is that the private member pads are not generally fully utilized.
Right.
So have you thought about maybe expanding the public pad section? And
Yeah.
in my dream world, you might segregate the imagers from the visual folks.
Yeah, and that certainly could be done. You know, right now, either Conrad or I, as we're doing reservations, if we fill up the 10 pads, then we will overflow to either the amphitheater pad first, if we don't have any large scopes coming in, or we have the authority to use any of the member lease pads if the members aren't going to be there. So we
Okay,
can't put people out there on those. You know, if they're obviously, if a member who's got a lease is going to be out there, then they certainly have priority. But typically, you know, only 3 or 4 of those pads are filled at any one time. So we
yeah,
can certainly, it's a little bit trickier if the pad has a pier on it,
right.
because you've got to work around the pier, but certainly any of them that don't have a pier can be utilized. So we keep that in mind. Yeah, we might have to, you know, if we did another round of pads, maybe, you know, we could, you know, there's probably room up here to over here to the south, in that open area we were showing before, where the observatories aren't going to be. You know, we might be able to extend some of these pads right here. I don't remember what this says here, but we might be able to kind of expand it down this way a little bit too, and just get some more pads in there.
Yeah,
Okay, weren't you talking about possibly expanding the RV spots in that area?
Well, yeah, I mean, right now we're looking at just expanding them this way, but if we did, you know, we'd probably have to expand them down here, but there's still, you know, some more room out in this area. So there would be room out there for it, but
Jim, what do you have marked in the little box between the parking lot and the RV area? That's kind of a ditch there. And I don't know what, you know what I'm talking about?
this right
Up
here,
on your cursor. No, higher. Between the parking lot, right? Yeah, left. The other parking lot. Yeah. So right there. What is
Oh.
that?
that I think is probably just it's a ditch. You're right. It is a ditch. And
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
ditch.
it probably says, without expanding up, I haven't looked at it for a while, but it probably says drainage. Is probably just on the master
Okay.
site plan. It's indicating to the county that we have drainage areas out there.
Great.
yeah.
Just,
I think on your legend, Jim, it identifies that as a rainwater catchment basin.
Okay,
Ah,
yeah, there you go.
So you probably got to keep that and serving
Yeah.
that function.
Yeah, exactly.
You can take advantage during the monsoons to get some water.
Right.
Hey, Doug, you can set up in there. You got a tripod that elevates your optics.
Eh,
I'll join you.
I'll bring a rubber duck. I'll bring a rubber ducky the
Yeah.
next time I'm there. Yeah.
I already have my air mattress. We're set.
All right, let's see. So here's a picture of the 3 big scopes. Upper left is the 9-inch folded refractor. So this is I don't know if it's a one of a kind, but it's certainly a unique one. I think it is a one of a kind. It's a German instrument. Bob Reynolds purchased it. The engineer at this company, I forget now, you know, if any of you guys know, Conrad, you probably know who it came from.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name.
Yeah. But
Lockwood wasn't. It wasn't Lockwood. Bob Lockwood that put those.
It was
in
out
there.
of West Germany somewhere.
Ah, okay.
But this engineer had this idea of taking one of their refractors and basically cutting it in half and putting a mirror in there and folding it over. And so rather than having a super long 9-inch, we've got a more manageable one. And it worked. It provides some really, really great views. It's a good complement to the 40-inch. So here the light just, you know, it just comes in the light bucket end and comes back and hits a mirror just like you would in a Schmidt or something, and then it gets reflected up into the eyepiece catchment. So it does a really good job. It's 9-inch 9-inch refractor. So I think everybody that's looked through it has really enjoyed it. And then obviously the one to the right is the 40-inch, we call the big boy. That's the big telescope. That one, we require 2 operators to run it. And so, you know, it's pretty involved to get it up and going, but once it gets going, it provides some awesome views. And then the bottom one down here is the 14-inch Celestron and the Wally Rogers. The Wally Rogers one is on a Astrophysics 1200 mount. The 9-inch refractor is on an Astrophysics 1600 mount. And I forget what the Dob is, or the 40-inch. Joe, you could probably.
That's that uses a Nexus controller and a servo cat for the motors.
But they're both, they're all 3 great pointing ones. You can certainly put cameras on the Schmidt if you want to. We have put, Bernie has put his Malin cam on the 9-inch. We used it for a virtual star party one time and it worked great. I think he tried experimenting with the 40-inch and it was doable, but it's just so magnified that it's really tough to keep an image stable long enough to be able to enjoy the view. But the 9-inch worked really great with his Malin cam. Let's see, so there's the 40-inch working with John Kalis at the control and Carter Smith up at the eyepiece. And you can see the 9-inch in the background. And there's a nice view. Thanks, Kevin, for the good view of the night sky with me looking through my little 8-inch with Snoopy on top. That was taken from the Amphitheater pad looking to the east. So those are, and I don't think you did much processing on this one, did you, Kevin?
No, most of the effort was complaining about the stuffed animal, Jim.
Yeah. And I told him you're not gonna kill Snoopy, so you might have to live with it. But you know, so those are the skies you can experience out there. So if you haven't been out to CAC, by all means, you ought to come out sometime. Even if you just come out and you know, look through others' scopes the first time or something like that. The views out there are great. Here's another one over top of the Wally Rogers that Kevin took, looking towards the southeast. And here's one Bob Rose took. Let's see, Wade also asked if we could talk about the weather station and how to access it. Yeah, in fact, I will show you that on the website here in just a minute. We'll talk through the weather station then. We did talk about the internet service and the lease fees. So I think that is all I had except for showing you guys the website. So let me do that next. And let's go to, all right, you should be seeing the website.
Yep.
All right, so when you go to the TAAA site, under TAAA resources, there's observing sites and then Chiricahua Astronomy Complex, and that brings you right here. And it's got the address and the coordinates, the dates in 2022 that we're planning on doing the Cac Weekend, we call it. It's just basically a member weekend when there'll be hosted people there to, you know, if it's your first time out or if you're not checked to open and close the site. And I need to mention that too, that members can get checked out. We like for you to come to the site first, you know, usually on a Cac weekend so that you can get the experience. And then we can check you out to open and close the site. It's a pretty straightforward process. And then you can come out anytime. You just need to still make a reservation through Conrad. And Conrad is doing the reservations right now. But then you can come out on anytime you want to and do a pad or use your member pad if you've got one, or get into one of the RV sites. So the next one coming up is March 4th and 5th, which is not this weekend, but the following weekend, although we're going to have quite a few members out there this weekend. As Conrad mentioned earlier, the new moon kind of splits weeks. So this weekend and next weekend are both good weekend. We're going to give a good shot at doing a Messier marathon. If anybody wants to play around with that, you're more than welcome to do that. It's a March tradition, so we'll see how we can pull that off. But anyway, these are all listed on the website. So, and it just basically says here, if you're not checked out to open and close the site, then you should try to come on one of those hosted weekends like this. There's no guarantee that there'll be somebody that'll be out there at other times to open and close the site for you. And then under the resources, there's a button for the directions, the rules. We've got the COVID rules on there, but that's getting pretty dated. We could probably actually take that off. There's a first-time users primer. The Cac Weather Station is right here. So we do have a weather station attached to the RMO building. And we have a rain gauge, wind sensor, and temperatures and all that. The rain gauge isn't currently working, so we need to get that resolved yet. But the wind certainly is and the temperature is. So by clicking on that, it'll take you to the station. In fact, we can probably just do that and I'll just show you what it shows. So it's tied into Weather Underground. But that shows the site. It's currently 47 degrees out there. Tells you what the wind direction, pressure are, dew point, humidity.
Hey, Jim, a question. Because you mentioned it's tied into Weather Underground, could I sit here on my cell phone and access Weather Underground and just designate Pierce, Arizona, and it would come up with the Cac weather?
Yeah, you should be able to just do a search for that site right there, KAZ
Chaz Pierce. Okay.
31, and
Cool.
that should come up. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, so it's, kind of gives you a good running history of what the temperature's been doing and things like that. I think you can change these values a little bit, but anyway. Just got to move that down so I can close it.
That wind gauge is, that wind graph is very useful sometimes at night. I watch that like a hawk for those of us who are wind sensitive. So it's very helpful to have that.
Yep. This Cac Weather Summary is tied into it as well. Just kind of summarizes what the information is there. We do have, takes you to the clear sky chart for Cac. So that'll take you directly to that. And we do have an all sky camera. I don't know, I haven't looked at it recently. Doug, is it working or is it not? Guess we'll find out.
I can't remember. It looks, the date is 1/31, so it hasn't been, it probably went through a power surge, but next time I'm out there, I plan to do some work on that. So we'll get that running shortly. Yeah. And actually, there's a new dome that we'll put on there. So even though you can tell if you look at the picture where the dark spots on the dome are, stars are coming through, but it's pretty brutalized by the sun damage. Right. And so that should hopefully clean up here the next month.
All right, super. So yeah, that's hopefully we'll get that back in business. And then to make a reservation, you just click on the reservations for CAC button right here. It's going to take you to the member login page. So you have to have a member planet. You need to have a member planet login. We're just doing that right now primarily to ensure that it's members that are making the reservations. Obviously, if we don't recognize a name, we can, Conrad can go into member planet and make sure that it's a member that's doing it. But we haven't noticed any issues for that yet. Then there's just
Jim, I might have an issue with that.
What was that?
I did make a reservation about 2 weeks ago and I have gotten nothing, no confirmation, nothing. I did sign up for opening the site and the C14 and I got confirmations for those, but I did not get confirmations for the reservations.
Okay, I can't tell who's talking because I can't see everybody.
Oh, it's Stablina, Vladimir.
Okay, Conrad, did you note that if you want to?
Yeah, I'll note it, but I normally get an email generated to me.
Yeah, I never got an email from anybody.
No, I meant, I didn't, usually I get the email that somebody made a reservation and for some reason it wasn't generated. It's happened once before, so.
Okay, it's for next weekend is what I wanted. I have an RV with me and it's a small RV, so I could fit anywhere. I really don't need power, but I do have reservations for opening the site and the C14. And I did get confirmation for those, but never for the RV site.
Well, okay,
That's interesting. Yeah, let's,
well,
why don't,
the
why don't you
RV
s-
site, did you reserve an RV site on the calendar?
I did. That's what I tried to do.
Did you,
and I
did it,
never.
because I can't, unless there's an opening for an RV site, you can't reserve it. It's not available on the, I'm
Well,
sorry.
I have no clue what happened because I sent in the request and had no confirmation or any feedback at all.
why
So
don't
kind
you,
of-
why don't you do this? Can you, I'm going to give you an email address. So if you want to write this down and it'll come to,
Yeah, let me find a piece of paper real
it'll
quick.
come to Conrad and myself so that then Conrad can try to see what's going on. In fact, it's
Yeah.
probably on here.
Yeah, I thought it was odd because I received the confirmation very quickly for the.
Guess we don't have the CAC director email on here. I thought we did.
What days were,
Okay,
what,
I got a pencil. But
Okay, so
What-
send an, that way we don't have to tie everybody up here.
Yeah.
Send an email to CAC-director, so CAC dash
uh-huh,
DIRECTOR director
okay,
at Tucson Astronomy, all one word, .org. I guess we could have used the booking one, but this one will work fine. So Conrad, when you get that, if you can just work with,
yeah,
with them
what
and-
days were you interested in the RV? Because it could be, do you remember?
yeah, I have to go look at my calendar. I think it was like March 1st through the 7th or something. There for a week, but I'm pretty flexible. I'm in Benson right now. I have a place
Okay.
in Benson, so
All right,
I
I don't
can
want
run
to,
over there and come back, whatever works.
yeah, I don't want to take everybody's time either, but usually to reserve an RV, there's a calendar and you click the dates, individual dates that you want for a 30 amp or 50 amp.
But they
Yeah,
probably
it was
are all-
about 3
they're-
weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I can't remember what really happened.
But did you click the dates on the calendar?
I can't remember.
okay, we can.
Okay, we can look into it.
Remember that. If you want, it's. my
Yeah, next
last
time,
name, but-
yeah, next time send an email if you have a delay.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't realize how you guys were working that, so. My email, by the way, is first initial is V as in Vladimir, and last name is Stablina at northwestinternet.nwi.net. In case I miss you guys, okay?
Okay,
Okay, and I
I'll
do,
be there next weekend anyway, so.
well, I think
Good luck dealing with me.
I think you reserved for just observing and then using, and that's what was approved. I didn't see anything come across for a specific RV.
Well, there were
reservation.
Yeah, there were 2 different emails that I sent though, anyway, I'll have to go back there. I won't waste anybody's time anymore.
Well,
but,
you have to really reserve through the site, so.
yeah.
well, I thought I
Okay,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought
If you guys can work that out over the next day or two, and we'll get you straightened out. And if you can dry camp, all the RV sites right now are filled. They've been filled for probably 3 or 4 weeks. That's probably why the RV portion didn't go through. So, but if you're able to dry camp, that'll be fine too. We can put you in a spot.
Yeah,
We can
I'm
find a
okay with
spot for
that.
you.
Yeah, there's no
Okay.
issue with that.
All right, so here's just back to the website here. There's a section here for observing. And it just talks about the facilities. I think I did do a video overview of the complex. I won't go through it here, but you can click on that and see the video walkthrough. Talks a little bit about the observatories. This was the RMO dedication that we did several years ago. That was assembling the 40-inch. And the meeting we did during the dedication. And then pictures of the 2 telescopes. And then same with the Wally Rogers, talks a little bit about the observatory and what we've got there. More pictures. Talks a little bit about observing pads, what's out there. There's a picture of
Nice. Well
Paul.
put.
Yeah. Some of the other facilities, and it talks a little bit about next steps in the development. Night Sky Learning Center, master site plans. If you click on there, should take you. I haven't looked at it recently, so I'm not sure if it's up to date. If it isn't, we'll probably need to get that updated. And then it'll talk a little bit about the observatory project. And I think that is it there. So, any questions?
Hey, Jim, this is not meant to make more work for you or Conrad, but something just occurred to me looking at your tour of the website. And as this site gets more utilization, and it sounds like you're getting to the point, like Vladimir was talking about, you request an RV space and you don't get it because it's already full.
Right.
Is there any way to keep a live calendar that shows at least where the bigger groups are reserved? So, because I suspect what happens is some of us start spilling over on either side of new moon.
Right.
And yeah, I can make that request for the first quarter moon or something, but it'd be nice to know if there's 30 Boy Scouts out there the same dates.
Yeah, there really isn't. And right now we don't have that kind of an issue, but we could in the future once we start bringing more youth groups out and things like that. So that's probably not a bad idea, even if we put it on Member Planet, just so that it wasn't necessarily open to the public, because we don't want to advertise when we're doing youth groups and stuff like that. So we could certainly put it on the Member Planet portion so the members can get to it.
Or even if you just say, once those 2 dormitory facilities are complete and operational, if you just say those are reserved for X dates, that would be useful information for the rest of us.
Right. Yeah. So that you knew if there was a big group that's going to be tying up the rooms or something like that.
Yeah, we were talking about blocking those out with Ed. I don't know if you remember that, Jim.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things we were going to try to do is, on the calendar, it would show that it isn't available, but it doesn't really, I don't know that it really tells you what's going on. So it might be good to have a calendar on there that it wouldn't be that hard to keep updated, because we're not talking about, once we do it once, it should be pretty consistent. But yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Jim, I have a question in regards to the sleeping rooms. Is there going to be a reservation fee? If so, have you guys assigned it yet?
Yeah, we haven't finalized the fee yet. There will be a fee, yeah. And so of the 10 rooms, and we haven't worked through all this process yet either, of the 10 rooms, most of the rooms will have 2 beds in them. So what we'll probably do is try to put one person in each room, or if there's a couple or something like that, obviously they can go into one of the rooms. And then once we fill them all up, we'll go back and maybe put a second person in the rooms as we go back through them. But the price range is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of probably, $10 to $20. I don't think it's going to be as high as 30, but maybe it would be. But I think for the most part, it's going to be in the $10 to $20 range to make sure we can cover, the electricity, because each room's going to have heating and air conditioning. So once you turn that kind of stuff on, it's going to start running the electric bill. And so if you go to the reservation, if you click on the reservations and log in through Member Planet, you will see when you go there. Well, let me go ahead and just bring that up.
Yeah, while you're bringing that up, Jim,
Yeah.
May Smith, our president, did, and John Mead did recommend that we would never have a situation where if you reserved a room, that you'd be stuck with somebody without being aware of it. And,
Right.
you know, so a lot of times it'll just be somebody sharing, or you just have it yourself, but never put a person in a position to share something with somebody that they're unaware of. So,
Right.
or
Yeah.
don't know.
So we'll have the capacity theoretically to do 18 to 20 beds, but chances are we'll never get to that capacity because of what Conrad just said. So let me just share this. So once you log into Member Planet and come to the reservation, click on the reservation link. This is where it comes. And it just talks a little bit about here. And then here's the reservation. So here you can make a reservation if you're just observing. Here's for 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom. And that's why it says coming soon, because we're not there yet. If you want to do a cot right now, we have it available for like $5 a night or something like that. I think it's what the cost is. If you want to just, be able to get something a little more comfortable than your car or sleeping in a tent. And then we have the RV spaces for the 30 amp and the 50 amp. Now, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get around this or not. We're working with Ed. I didn't look to see if Ed is on tonight. But if you click on the pictures when you come onto the site, all it does is it just opens up the picture. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to click on the words. So like here for the 30 amps, if you click on the words, then this is what comes up. And anything that's colored is available. So like if I wanted to make a reservation from the 21st to the 27th, I could, but and it just says like right here, there's available 1, 1's available, 3 are available. We have 3 sites, so nobody's out there during this time frame right now. And then if you go into, unfortunately, it splits it. So here's March 1st, they're all booked. March 2nd, there's 1 available. 3rd and 4th, they're all booked. 5th, there's 1 available. So just kind of give you an idea of what's available for, and the 50 amp one site works the same. If you just do an observing one, it brings it up. There's a calendar if you can select the dates, and then you just fill in the information of what, name, email, phone, how many in your party, whether you've been trained to open and close or the COVID vaccine, and then just make sure you put in any kind of comments in here that helps Conrad figure out what you want done. And then if you want to, if you want to do it on a public pad, you'd select here. If you have one of your leased pads, if you own one of those or lease one of those, you can select that one. If you're trained on the 14-inch, you can do that one, or if you're trained on the 18-inch, and then it's got the robot test. So that's the just observing. And then eventually we'll have these guys active as well. So yeah, and it does say here you can reserve cot. So it looks like the private room is $20 a room with, these aren't finalized yet. So, we'll have to figure that out if we may have to adjust them as we determine how much power we're using and things like that. The 30 and 50 amp sites. If you just want to sleep in your car or in a tent or anything like that, there's no cost for that. Certainly no cost for just observing. If you want to do it as an out and back. So as you guys use that, certainly we would like feedback on that to help us improve it.
I got a question where it says what you're proposing anyway, room with 2 single beds, $30. I take it that that would be like $15 a person in that room, right?
Probably, well, yeah. So like if it was a
If there
couple,
were
then
2 people occupying it.
right. If it was a couple, then your cost would be $30 for the 2 of you. If there's just one of you, you see, then right now it looks like it says, like I said, we haven't finalized these yet. It has $20 down there if there's one, and then I'm not sure why. Yeah, so I think it'd be $20 per person. if
Yeah,
you're just doing one room.
we had an issue, and I know Joe could probably also help with the design of the buildings, the way the beams are. We couldn't get enough single rooms. And that's why, and I had nothing to do with the design of this, but just what was forced with that. So we do have more double rooms, and we haven't really come up with, a double room. Somebody just came up with an idea, how about 30 and 20, but it could be, 15 and 25 or 10 and, 20. So
Yeah, we don't
yeah,
want to make this competitive with Motel 6 or something like that. The intent here is to cover the electricity cost for the room, but then we also have, the electricity costs for the pads and for the RMO and for the well house. And so there's other costs throughout the site. So the cost will be, whatever electricity charge there's going to be, plus something for the entire site and a little maintenance reserve. So it's probably not unreasonable or to think that it's going to be in the $15 to $30 range. But we'll continue tweaking that as we go along. We might start off at a little bit lower, and then once we see what the costs are, we might have to jack it up a little bit, or we might start off a little bit higher and bring it back down a little bit if we can. So again, none of that is in stone right now. Terry was asking if the email address up there is correct, and it is. So the one I gave you, Vladimir, was that comes to both Conrad and myself, and that's the CAC director email. This is the other one. It goes to Conrad and myself as well. But this one, if you're having problems with reservations, this is probably the best email. So you can send it. You can send your email to either one of those, Vladimir, and that'll get to us.
Hey, Jim?
Yeah.
It says SON astronomy, not Tucson
Oh,
astronomy.
it sure does, doesn't it? Yep. Okay. So that part of it is not correct. It should be cac-reservations@tucsonastronomy.org. I'll fix that as soon as we get done here.
Okay, I'm totally confused at this point. Who do I send it? What do I send the email to?
Send it to the one I gave you earlier.
Okay, at tucsonastronomy.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Vladimir,
Cac
do you remember clicking on the calendars for the dates you wished, and maybe you just got locked up there? Maybe possibly.
No, what I got was an email address, and I sent it to an email address. I did not go through that form.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would.
Oh,
Okay.
I would have remembered that form. And I
Yeah,
did not.
if you have it in your sent, in your sent basket or something, if you want to resend it or something.
or
Okay.
yeah, let Conrad know who sent it to, because
Yeah.
neither one of us got it. So
Yeah, so I'll go check on that. As long as I show up next week and have a place to park it, I'm fine. So,
yeah,
And then,
so
and
make
if
sure
we, yeah,
make sure
I'm
you
sorry.
sort that out with Conrad.
yeah, and if we have clear skies, that'll be good too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. What other questions?
Hey, Jim, this is Matt Penn. I really like what you've done with the education centers, but I can imagine if there are kids who are really excited to want to do follow-up work. So have you thought about having a remote access telescope among those 4 that you talked about?
We have probably not remote access where they can use it remotely, but certainly, we can feed, when we put a camera on it, we could feed it to a classroom. So for instance, if we had a class that couldn't come out or something, we could feed the observations to them via Zoom or something, just like we do for virtual star parties. But yeah, down the road, it might be kind of neat to be able to make one of those remote access.
I can imagine a kid coming out and wanting to follow up with a SARSEF program or project, for instance,
Right.
taking observations throughout a year or some longer time period from wherever they come from. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that would probably end up being down the road a ways. But that's certainly something to keep in mind.
All right, thank you.
What else?
This is Vladimir, can I just make one comment on that last comment? A friend of mine out of Phoenix was affiliated with UC Berkeley and had a remote site at his observatory that schools could access, and he did it for about 10 years from Berkeley, from schools in Poland and throughout the globe. And he'd set it up for midnight, open up his roof, and people would run it. You know, it was a great service, and he did get subsidized. They bought cameras and other things for him.
Right.
So that might be something worth looking into.
Yeah, it would be potentially you know, manpower intensive on our end to have people out there, you know, managing it. You know, I don't know that we'd want to give them, especially if they're novices, total control of the telescope, but we certainly can come up with something with a compromise to where I want to at least be able to feed an observation session to a school or something like that. Now, chances are, you know, at some point in time, we do have a solar scope out there now that members will be able to get trained on here pretty soon. But, you know, at some point in time, we could do that with the solar observing during the day. But I suppose if we've got classrooms on the other side of the world that are, you know, daytime for them when it's nighttime for us, we could make it work, but it'd be a little bit harder.
It was a great service in terms of the schools. I mean, he had a
Right.
great-
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. No, those are good ideas. We'll start off small and add in features when we can. What else? Otherwise, I will turn it back over to you, Greg. All right, thanks everybody. That was some good inputs, good comments, and definitely, if you haven't been out to CAC, come out and enjoy the site.
Okay, Jim, thank you for that introduction, and for those who weren't familiar with it, I think that's very helpful. We're just a little over an hour, so I had some other stuff that I was going to go over, but I think we'll save that for a future get together. If there aren't any other questions, the next meeting will be the third Monday of the month, which next month will be March 21st. So again, I hope to see you all for that next meeting. We'll send out some reminders. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Jim or Conrad will be able to answer any further questions you have concerning CAC. All right, thanks everyone for participating, and we'll see you next month.